Hello users, and welcome back to Above It All, the series where I eat protein bars before the video starts. Anyway, welcome back to Above It All, the show and where I tell you I'm right all the fucking time. I think I've been right on everything except Bernie being the nominee. Pretty much, I think that's the only thing I've been wrong on throughout this entire fiasco. All the 378 episodes of this stupid fucking little series I do where I talk to myself on my webcam and my roommates get annoyed at me because I'm screaming into the atmosphere and only like 6 people watch it, right? But like, look at this. David Sirota, who worked with the Bernie campaign, released this little compilation of data which I found pretty interesting. And basically, it cites a study, and I'll read the highlighted text here from the study. We find a statistically and economically significant association between in-person voting and the spread of COVID-19 2 to 3 weeks after the Wisconsin election. Furthermore, we find the consolidation of polling locations and relatively fewer absentee votes increased positive testing rates 2 to 3 weeks after the election. Interesting correlations. Wisconsin counties with higher levels of in-person voting per polling location led to increases in the weekly positive rate of COVID-19 tests. Furthermore, counties with higher absentee voting participation had lower rates of detecting COVID-19 2 to 3 weeks after the election. And the rest of this piece is basically arguing why we need to have national vote by mail, which is what the Democrats are trying to kind of do, but like, they're not like fighting for it as hard as they should be. They're more interested in like the fake war over the USPS. Got a little chunk in my gums. Anyway, I said this after Florida, Illinois, and Arizona, and I've said this many, many times. Each and every election that has happened since Super Tuesday should have the results annulled. And the fact that that hasn't been a push, even from lefty like people that I see, like people just pretend that, oh yeah, these elections in Nebraska just happened as well. Like every single in-person election that has happened since Super Tuesday needs to be annulled. Plain and simple. Redo them, because like this whole scenario of like only letting certain segments of the population vote, like the less educated population, you know, the people that aren't following the scientific news and the reports and the medical science and the journals and the doctors, like the people that are just, you know, in their snow homes, you know, like, oh, well, I'm gonna go vote today for Joe Biden. Oh, like those people, right? Like the fact that those people are allowed to have a higher, more valuable voice than the people in our society that actually give a fuck and that actually pay attention is devastating to me. And it's one of those things where it's like, and there's no reason for it. Like, this is one of the things, like, poverty does not need to exist, right? But, like, you know, there's a complex series of things that we would need to do, at least in the context of our society, in order to eradicate poverty. This, however, is easy. Like, most states already have a system built in that's, you know, could just be expanded. Vote by mail. We already have the USPS. Multiple states already have absentee ballots. Just replace you need an excuse, like, oh, I'm out of town or whatever. Replace that excuse with no excuse, and then just mail everyone ballots. This is so easy. This is one of those things where it's like, what the fuck? How are we having a conversation about this? It's 2020. We could do this in 1960. We could do this in 1860. We could do this in probably 1760. But it's 2020, and for whatever reason, oh, this is so hard. Mail someone a piece of paper, and then they write on it and mail it back. I've never heard of that before. That's the most wild thing I've ever... Are you saying you're going to have a letter printed and then it's going to go in a truck from point A to point B, and then the person at point B is going to open the letter and write on it, and then put it back in, and then it's going to go back to point A. What? I've never heard of that. The mail system? It's like the same people who are like, COVID, what? The germ theory of disease? What? Washing your hands? I never wash my hands. What's washing your hands do? Sure, it only takes 2 minutes, and it's relatively benign, and you can do other things to entertain yourself while you're doing it, so it's like, it's not even really a chore, you know? Like, but somehow, for whatever reason, we live in a society where people don't understand we have a mailing system. They don't understand the idea of the postal fucking service. They don't understand the germ theory of disease, which has been around here for at least 100 fucking years. They don't understand basic fucking science. And these are the people that are deciding our elections, because these are the people that go out and vote. I know a lot of people that were Bernie supporters and they couldn't go out and vote because like their parent was immunocompromised and they didn't want to risk it, and like the country was kind of like in a little bit of a stasis, and we're starting to really come to terms with the stasis now. The stasis period, I think, is ending, especially as states start to reopen, and it's a giant fucking mistake. How many innocent fucking people are going to have to die, not go to sleep, not enter a coma, not be cryogenically frozen and then thawed out at a later date, are going to die. Their lives are going to end. They're not going to pause. They're not going to, like, take a break. They are going to end forever because of stupid motherfuckers like Tom Perez, Joe Biden, and of course the entire like fucking Republican Party, right? They were like, these elections just fine. You had Simone Sanders, right? The fucking Joe Biden lying fucking shitbag girl, going like, well, if the CDC says that, you know, we should do it, we should just do it, and there's nothing wrong with that, because the CDC ain't said so, even though the CDC literally said days before that this should not go on. She went on national television and said, everyone go vote tomorrow, it's super important, you gotta vote for Joe Biden at the CDC, like, it's unbelievable. We live in a society that does not actively believe in the germ theory of disease. In the year 2020, not the year 1920, not the year 1820, not the year 1720, not the year fucking 20. We live in 2020 in the Gregorian calendar, and for whatever reason, our fucking global leadership, for the most part, does not believe in basic shit like the germ theory of disease. And this is getting to the point where it's like, what? Like just thinking about this makes me angry. Like, the germ theory of disease. We were taught this in fucking, like, first grade. I was taught how important washing my hands was. In first fucking grade! And yet, all of our leaders around the globe, sans a couple dozen, don't believe in it. It's like, this is worse than not believing in climate change, right? Like, oh, it was winter and now it's summer, the climate don't change, woohoo! Like, it's like, imagine, I remember every time I'd go over my grandparents' house for Sunday dinner, they would make me wash my hands before sitting at the dinner table. This was when I was like 4 years old. Like, if people in their fucking 70s are going to tell children and teach them to wash your hands before eating a meal, why the fuck, 20 years later, are global leaders not believing in the fucking germ theory of disease? Like, it's just, like, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna go fucking crazy. This shit is unreal.